Hello everybody, welcome back to ASAP Frosty's channel, where we always stay frosty, get shit done ASAP. Alright, so today I'm really excited to bring you guys the very first video, and hopefully a whole series. I'm planning on doing a whole series of all sorts of different guides. Right now, they're mainly going to be geared towards new players, right? As we all know, Arma Reforger has been growing in popularity for quite some time. And at this point in time, exactly, the game is absolutely exploding. With the new release on PS5, not only is it gaining massive amounts of exposure there, but we're also really gaining traction PC, Xbox gaming. So in my personal opinion, Arma Reforger is probably the best game out there. It has its quirks, it has its bugs, right? It's a showcase. Reforger is a showcase of the Infusion game engine, and kind of what we can expect out of Arma 4. However, Arma 4 will be completely optimized with a lot of these things that we're experiencing now completely worked out. One thing I love the most about it is they're letting it slow cook. Oftentimes anymore, you don't see that with different video game companies. So anyways, that's kind of my first 2 cents on my opening. And with that, let's get cracking into it. So very first thing, right? What do I do here? I've just logged into a server. I've never played Arma Reforger before. I see all these different points and all of these different markers on the map. What do I do? So first things first, normally most servers are defaulted to spawn you at the main base. Notice how this says main base south. So this would be your main operating base, and if you hover this, you can see, holy cow, it's got 52,000 supplies at max. It currently, so the left side is how many supplies there currently are at the base. Right side of the / is how many total supplies that base can hold, and then in parentheses with the plus 350, that means I believe that it's gaining plus 350 every tick. It's not every second. I don't know the exact timer that it's on. Sorry, I do not have that information. But this is your main base. So another thing to notice here about this is that there's two different names, right? Main base south and Gusar. So main base south is what everyone could see, right? So say you're playing NATO, right? Because I chose Russia for this. It doesn't matter, Russia, NATO. I'll go into my opinions on that later in another video. But right, so everyone on the map, Russia and NATO, can see the top names, right? Fort Bastion, MSR, Fob 1. These names never change, and they're the actual names of the bases. The secondary name, right? So industrial zone, Consul. So this is the actual code name of that base. So say you're requesting supplies, right, which we'll go over what supply runs are here later in this video. But say you're getting really low on supplies, so like let's find a base. So this one, right, 49 out of 15,000, almost 16,000, right? So say you need some supplies ran here so that your team can continue to spawn on that point and defend that point. You would say, hey, I'm requesting supplies ran to Yantar. You would not want to give out the actual name gas station that everybody knows, because then they're going to know exactly where you guys are trying to defend and exactly where that supply truck's going to be going. So you want to try to use the code names in a defensive posture, right? But now say you're under a heavy assault and you're like, hey, I'm under a heavy assault at Consul. You would not want to say that, because the enemy could potentially pick up your radio, which also we'll go over that later. But the enemy could have your radio and listening into your global comms, and they could hear you call out that code name, and then they can associate that code name to the actual base name, and now they have you figured out for potentially the rest of the match. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of the map. Normally, for your very first spawn ever, if you've never built a loadout, you want to spawn at the main base. You don't want to spawn out at these forward operating bases, because when you put your kit together, all the guns you pull out, all the different ammo, is actually going to take the supplies away from that base. So with that, we're gonna head in. One last little tip. I'm assuming this will be your first time ever loading in, so you're not already gonna have a loadout. So all you'll see on this bottom right side here, where your character is this little bullet icon. So that's the default loadout that the server has provided you. So just a tip, you could come back to this video. You can actually click on the cog. So I only have one loadout saved on this server, but you could actually click on that cog and then deploy, and it will actually spawn you with everything you have saved to that loadout. For now, we're just gonna spawn in with the default loadout. And most servers, when you spawn into the map with the default loadout, you don't have a gun. Pretty much all you have is very basic, like you have your map. So you'd have like your map, maybe some meds, and a couple of different basic things. I think that the WCS servers have actually changed the default loadout to where you could load in and just play the game. So let's crack into this. So very first thing, I'm just gonna drop all of my stuff here so that we can just show you guys. So I'm gonna drop all this stuff. Sorry about that. It's gonna be a little exposed in his whitey tidies. So here, now we've dropped everything, right? So I can't carry grenades and ammunition and stuff. Personally, I like to start at the armory box so that you can pick up a backpack, you can pick up your rig, all that different stuff. So for now, we are just going to make this guide in the basic new loadout editor for WCS. However, some servers are using what's called the Bacon loadout editor. WCS has decided to take it out because all the bugs with it. But so anyways, let's crack into this. So right here, as you can see, there's 1 out of 74 pages. There's going to be a silly amount of stuff in here to go through. I would highly recommend using these tabs down the left side. So let's start out. So you can use right click or X. So as you can see in the bottom left, their UI actually does a very good job of giving different helpful tips so that you can try to learn the game. It doesn't have every single keybind, but normally if you look in the bottom left, it will have some keybinds. So I'm just gonna pick up a set of condor glasses. Okay, that's awkward. It's not working. Let's see. So maybe let's start out with a backpack here. So for now, we're just going to load all this out, and then I'll explain the weight system later. So as you can see, if you hover this, it pops up a tooltip with different things about the backpack. As you can see, it shows how many supplies that it costs. This backpack costs 30 supplies, just the backpack. And then in the bottom right of the tooltip, it shows you how much that item actually weighs. So 3.6 kilograms versus, you know, this medic bag that's 1.5. So your weight does actually go into how your character moves. They actually have it figured out very well. So normally the number that you want to stay at or around or under is 40 kilograms. So once you pass 40 kilograms, your stamina bar drains extremely quickly. With your stamina bar here, as you can see in the very bottom left, that light green bar, notice how it's very, very, very slowly draining. So say you're at 60 kilograms, that bar is going to disappear. And once that bar disappears, you're going to struggle with gun sway. And you're going to be extremely slow. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is kind of how much your kit weighs. So let's see, let's look at some different helmets. So your helmet choice is actually very important. So as you can tell, this is just an old, Soviet era helmet. And as you can see, it actually has no slot for night vision goggles, right? So as you can see, this is a pilot's helmet, and it actually shows you in the tooltip, this is a helmet designed for pilots, right? So if you're flying, this is probably going to be a pretty good helmet for flying. And it also tells you that this helmet only accepts GEO ONV101 night vision goggles, right? So they've actually changed that to where it helps you know which night vision can be equipped with it. On the Russian side, I really like these LSHZ's helmets. I like also making different kits, one for nighttime and one for daytime. I really like, kind of the green camo style for daytime, so you blend better into the trees because black sticks out more during the day. But at nighttime, if you're wearing an all black loadout, you're much less visible. So for now, that's also another strange thing if you noticed. So you can only have either a balaclava or a helmet. However, if you have a helmet, the helmet actually can have different things attached to it. So another interesting thing about the helmet, so I hovered it, and if you can see in the bottom left, it shows I for inspect. So you hover it and press I, you can kind of see the different equipment slots, which you can drag things into, right? So that UI can be a little bit helpful. This helmet one, so these are kind of all the different Velcro patches and things. I don't love using this for the helmet, but we'll get back into that a little bit more when we go for the guns. So the easiest way, let's see, so the nods are under the equipment, so you can either find your nods or your night vision goggles. Nods are just short if you're new to the milsim world for night vision goggles. But you can either just press X and acquire these, and if you have a helmet on, it'll directly equip it, or you can drag and drop the night vision goggles into the helmet, kind of into its little UI here with its slots. Or the third option again is you can drag the nods onto the helmet if you have the inspect window up. Okay, so I know we've covered a lot already, but we're gonna keep going here. So that's also why I'm making this guide. So the next thing you're gonna want, I normally just try to move down this tab and pick up what I need. So as you can see, there's kind of all sorts of different camo that you can wear. So one of my big tips here while we're picking out our camo is that you don't want to pick an outfit that's going to make you look just like the enemy, right? So if you notice, this is white with blue stripes. This shirt right here is going to get you team killed because of this blue, right? The only way that you might not get team killed with this shirt on is if you have a red armband. So they've added armbands in a couple different ways to better identify one of your teammates, which we'll get into PID and stuff in another video. It's just too much to cover here. But I highly recommend that you go with your faction's kind of, default camo, which as you can see is kind of like that greenish brown, light green with, kind of the greens with the red. I highly recommend something like that. I actually really like the default clothes that it puts you in. These trees blend in, very well with bushes and things like that. So I'm not going to worry too much about what my drip looks like right now. So here, these are all your actual chest rigs. These hold additional mags and ammunition. And then also under this, you have your bulletproof vests. So really, some of them hold a little bit more. Some of them hold a little bit less. I normally just kind of go with the drip factor. I don't really care how much I can carry, yada yada. I normally just go with things that are going to give the most protection. What kind of armor you wear is really up to you. Just know that some armor weighs a whole lot more than others, so you might have to sacrifice how much meds you can carry or how much ammunition you could be carrying. So just keep that in mind. So for now, we're just going to go with an extremely heavy piece of armor so that we can also show how heavily the weight system will impact you, right? So this is like 14.7 kilos. And so now that we have it equipped, right, we can see what's actually inside. So we have 5A front and back plates. We have the left and right side plates as well as a groin plate. You can drop these. Normally, I personally drop my side plates. I would keep the groin because if you're not going to keep the groin, then you might as well just go with a straight chest rig. So let's see. So we've got we have both our plate carrier as well as our mag carrier. This is so under the glove screen, this is where you can equip your armband. I personally don't run armbands. I'm part of the No Armband Gang. However, a lot of newer players like running these so that they don't get team killed as often. I do recommend wearing them. There's some talk right now about whether they make them permanent and you can take them on or off. But a lot of the OG players like the original PID without having to wear a red armband that sticks out. So, whatever, right click, get some black gloves. Let's go down. We'll just pick out some pants. Again, I normally go with kind of like the best camo for my shirt and pants. I don't really care about the drip as much. I like staying hidden. And then, whichever pair of boots you like. I will say these new Adidas sneakers stick out like a sore thumb. They have kind of a weird lighting effect on them. I've seen these stick out pretty heavily when I'm scanning below bushes. So like an enemy might be walking behind a bush and I can see these white shoes sticking out against the green plain as day. So we don't have a pair of boots on, so I'll just put these on so that we'll look down at our feet and you can see. So the tab with the watch, this is all of your basic gear. So this is things that every single player needs. So, right, we have a map. You might think, okay, well, I don't need that. The default keybind for your map on computer is M. I didn't do as much prep as I wanted to. I really wanted to be able to give every single keybind for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and computer. But for now, Xbox and PC or PS5 players, you can go to your settings, into your controls, and whatever keybind that I say, there's a direct correlation to your keybind, right? So you could find out what keybind you have versus what keybind I said. So as you can see, I'm spamming M right now. My map won't open. We go back into the arsenal. Go back down to the watch, I pick up a map. The map is now in my inventory. I press M, voila. Okay, so the next major piece of gear is your compass. So there's two different ways to use a compass, but not every server has them. So if you notice, this server has a wristwatch. Okay, so I'll show you the difference. I'll take off the wristwatch. So the key bind for pulling out your compass is K. So as you notice now, I'll do just a brief little tutorial on this. So the solid yellow line on the top dictates north. And so as you can see, radial, I'm at 345, so I'm starting to look west. So let's say I turn right to east, which is the B. And then that kind of IO is south, and then the 3 is west, right? And so you can also give your bearing there. So as you can see, I'm over 345. So I could say, hey, enemy northwest, bearing 345, on that 2-story building, far right window in the top. So that's going to be a whole nother guide, kind of how to use call outs in a military milsim fashion, as well as using your radio. So that's another major thing that you're going to want, is binoculars, an entrenching tool, and a radio. So normally, as you can see, I picked up these B12 binoculars. Those are actually garbage compared to these PDU4s. So these PDU4s actually have a built-in rangefinder. I accidentally skipped over the Garmin watch, so let me skip back. So back to the compass. So instead of using K for compass, personally what I like to do is if you equip your watch into your wristwatch slot, and you can actually, you need your gun out. But when you're holding your gun and it's at a full ready, when your gun is at a full ready, your wristwatch will be noticeable on your left wrist, and you'll be able to say which direction you're facing and give a bearing call out. So I highly recommend using the wristwatch over the compass if it's available to you. Let's see, so we have our entrenching tool and our radio. Okay, so as you could tell, I already had to turn off the platoon radio. So your radio, when you pick it up, it will always default. Channel 1 will be your squad radio. So if you're on computer, you can press P, and then that will pull up all of your groups. Currently I'm in active 13, and my megahertz is 50.5. So say you have another player that you've been working with, right? So say I've been playing with Ghost. I'll know that Ghost is on megahertz 38. So 42 is the global platoon channel for all of Russia. So the keybind to pull up this radial menu is G. And you hover over whichever one you want. So say I want to go to channel 1 and talk on it. I'll click on channel 1. You use your caps lock to talk. And as you can see on the left side, it's showing 38 megahertz with no name. That means that I'm talking. You can also double click. Okay, so they actually removed hot miking for the radio. I've just learned that. So when you double click caps, it actually hot switches you between your two radio frequencies. And when you hover over the radio frequency, you use your scroll wheel to change the megahertz. So if I needed to give a call out on platoon chat to say, hey, I need some supplies ran to whichever point, right? I'll switch to 42, which 48 is the global platoon channel for NATO, 42 is for Russia. And then I'd use my caps lock to calm out to my whole team. And then T, hello everybody. T is how you talk locally. You can double tap T to hot mic locally, so they have not changed that. So one last thing that we need from this arsenal is medical. So medical is actually a pretty big topic. As you can see, if you're not going to be running an actual medic, you can just take bandages and morphine. So bandages and morphine are kind of the bare minimum that you need to survive on the battlefield. But as far as the guide goes, I'm going to give the whole rundown on all the medical. So this is just my personal opinion. I like taking 5 or 6 bandages. That way, you know, if you're alive for a long time, you're getting shot a lot, but you're not dying, you can continue to bandage yourself. And, you know, you also might need to use a spare bandage or two to heal one of your teammates that goes down. So we're going to do a full medic guide in a later video, so stay tuned for that as well. We'll go out and do some advanced medic stuff in the field and show you guys kind of how to heal people and do all of that. But then all of your other medicines, so morphine, I normally take 3. Epi, you can take just 1, right, or 3. Again, I normally take 3. And then saline. Saline is very, very important. As you can see, an intravenous solution administered to maintain blood pressure levels after major bleeding. So and I can't stress this enough, most people go straight to using a bandage, and then at the end, once they're all bandaged up, they'll use saline. A lot of the times your character will be losing so much blood after you've been shot in combat in game, to where as you're bandaging yourself, you'll actually get knocked unconscious. So I highly, highly, highly recommend taking at least 3 salines, and always, always, always apply your saline first. So a lot of players do not run a medical kit. They only run 1 kilogram. They take up a decent amount of space inside of the backpack. However, when a friendly player gets injured on the battlefield, once you've stabilized them, stopped the bleeding, and applied saline, you can actually use this medical kit to heal the limbs they got shot in down to a stable place. And then we use epinephrine to bring them back from being unconscious. It works extremely quickly. So this is the absolute fastest way to bring a player back to life from being unconscious while in combat. So medical kit is a super, super good thing to carry. Again, if you're not planning on being a medic, don't bring it, because it'll just take up extra space and add extra weight to your kit. However, you know, I generally find that I play this much more like a mil sim, and I see a lot of my friends or, you know, people I'm playing with in game go down, and after I've cleared the enemies, having enough medical supplies to actually bring those people back to help you now defend the point if you've taken it, or, you know, different things like that. You're always stronger in numbers. So anyways, that's kind of the rundown on medical. So one quick tip, like I said, we're going to go into medical in a whole nother video, but you can actually drag and drop these different medical supplies into different slots, right? So that way you can actually use the number 5, number 6, number 7 key to actually pull these out, right? So I'll show you. I'm going to click 6. That's going to pull out my saline. And then the hotkey to use that on computer is R. Okay, so now that we've gone over everything inside of the loadout box to get all of your gear and secondary items, we're going to go over to the fun box where all the guns are at. Okay, so this UI is pretty simple. There's really not a whole lot to explain with grabbing guns, right? Go find whichever gun you really like to use. Most guns in this game are very good. I believe that they do have different damage modifiers on them. And then obviously the bullets have their own damage modifiers, right? So a 7.62 AK-47 is going to hit harder than a 5.45 AK-12. However, this 5.45 AK-12 is going to have significantly less recoil than an AKM would. And as you can see here, there's all sorts of different ways they come pre-built. So as you can see, this one has a handguard, but with a foregrip and a handguard, where this AK-12 has a GP25 attached to it with a grenade launcher, right? So personally, I normally reduce extra recoil for having a GP25. Grenade launchers can do some absolute serious work. And yeah, what else? So there's ones that come already with a sight and a silencer on them. If you feel more comfortable taking one of these pre-built guns, go ahead, but that's why we're bringing you this guide. So here, obviously sniper tab, LMG tab. By the way, a lot of people sleep on the RPK. The RPK with just a red dot is probably, in my personal opinion, the most accurate gun in the game. So just test all of the different guns and find out which one you like the most and fits your play style the best. So here we're going to touch on this screen a little bit. So the Igla is in a heat-seeking missile launcher, right? So I know there's a lot of, we're going to go over this in another video. I'm looking over and I'm noticing that we're already at 30 minutes on this video, and I still need to chop it up and do some different things, right? So we don't have the time to go over every detail and keybind. It's crazy to think that just teaching how to load out right now, we're not even done and we're at 30 minutes. So anyways, these are all your different RPGs. If you hover these, they all say anti-tank grenade launcher. However, the different rockets actually have like different pen values. So if you can see on this 7VM rocket, it's a heat round, right? So this is for infantry, whereas these 7Bs, they're a thermobaric warhead. And it still says HE, which is actually really weird. Okay, so here you go. So this is your tandem heat round. So this is going to be your best rocket for actually destroying a tank, right? Because it's armor penetrating, and then it has a massive explosion after it penetrates. So you're going to want to find either one of these. So these thermobaric warheads do actually work really well and deal big damage to vehicles. However, this is a straight tank killer right here. If you have a heavy piece of armor that you're trying to kill, or a lot of people like running the Typhoons. So I highly recommend carrying around the tandem heat rounds. And again, you know, the Igla is for shooting down helicopters. Secondary sidearms, pretty basic. So here's all your magazines. The very first page holds your grenade launcher ammunition. This is actually a stun grenade. And then this is actually a really cool thing. If you're carrying a grenade launcher at night, you can actually launch white flare into the enemy base, so they have to take their nods off because it'll be so bright they can't see. So different little quirks that you can use. Another thing I'll explain about this, so in this top left is you can see a bullet that looks like it's penetrating a wall. That's an AP round, or short for armor penetrating. Those are the rounds that I highly recommend using. As you can see, these ones are tracer rounds. And then with just a normal bullet, these are just straight ball cartridge FMJ rounds. I would never use these rounds for any reason, period. Always pick up the AP and always pick up the biggest mag you can. So again, the keybind is I. I'm going to hover my gun. I'll click inspect. And as you can see, it already has the armor piercing loaded in, but it's only a 30 round mag. So what you can do in turn is come down, install a 45 round AP mag, boom. Now you have an extra 15 bullets to shoot. So here, this is a pretty valuable screen. You have all your different scopes, so you can either pick a red dot, you could pick something like a 4X Trijicon, with a Trijicon RMR red dot on top, or you know, this is actually a variable. So these, as you can see when you hover, it's a 1x4. So the main optic, you can actually be at 1 times, you can zoom in to 4 times, or you can use the 1X red dot on top, which is super valuable if you have a close to mid-range gun. Also, I think it's kind of odd how they group the suppressors into the scope tab, and these normally change, so a lot of people get confused on this. So I'm gonna show you guys quickly another way to quickly load out your gun. So what I did is I hovered my gun and I clicked in the middle scroll wheel. So as you can see on the bottom left, it says open new view. So then what you can do is then hover the arsenal, and as you can see, it says click the middle scroll wheel to open for a new view. So that'll actually open up your gun and then the arsenal. So you can't put a suppressor on until you take your muzzle brake off. So how I do that is I hovered it and I right click, or you can press X to drop. And then I'm hitting E to go through the different tabs. So now I can see all of my different suppressors, right? So here, so I have a 545 gun. This is a 545 suppressor. Drag it into the view for your gun. Now my suppressor is attached. You can do the exact same thing with a scope. So I really love these Trigicons right now. So I just click and drag the scope up into the view. So now as you can see, our gun is completely loaded out. It's got a GP25 on it. So how you switch to the GP25 is you hold V. So now if you've noticed in the bottom right, it has that kind of GP shell looking tab with how much ammo I have. And then when you ADS, it actually uses the iron sight for the grenade launcher. So how you get back to that is you hold V. You can also click the keybind for that weapon. So right now it's 1. So if I click 1, it'll go to the GP25. If I click 1, it'll go back to just the gun. And then switching through your fire rates is V. The AK-12 has 3 fire modes. It has single, double, and then full auto. Most guns only have single and full auto. Some guns are only single. The M16 is only single and burst. So your different guns will take some different getting used to. And now as you can see, there's a couple of different options that weren't there when I didn't, or that are there now, that weren't before I had the gun. So you just use your scroll wheel when you're looking at this to go through your different options. And then, so say I wanted some more weapon ammunition, I would hold F on that, and you can continue to hold F and it'll start grabbing ammo. Okay, 4 mags. I normally carry a lot of mags. I'm a more expert player, so I tend to stay alive for a long time. So a lot of times I use a lot of ammunition. So now say I want some actual ammo for my grenade launcher. I'm not sure if it's tracking my actual mags plus. Yeah, so 10, it looks like it was tracking my mags plus the grenade launcher. So now, as you can see, I have 6 GP25 shells for my grenade launcher. Also, you can scroll down to take a grenade. There's not a lot of extra stuff inside of here other than the mine and things to go over. You know, here's a grenade tab. I highly recommend taking a couple of smokes on top of your grenades in case you have some friendlies that get downed or you need to cross an open field. So now that we have went over kind of all of that, once you're ready and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to war, you scroll down and you can save to a loadout. So I'm going to save the loadout slot 2 here. So now you can see we can load that loadout slot 2 with the AK-12. So now say I would have held F and saved the loadout into slot 1. I already had a loadout saved into that slot, and it would have overwritten that slot. So be careful if you're making different loadouts not to save over your other loadouts. Or if you're just kind of getting sick of a loadout, feel free to save the loadout over that slot. And then anytime you can come back and load your loadout. So with that being said, we were going to go over a couple of different things, like how to spawn in a vehicle, some different things like that, but I did not expect this video to go this long. So for now, that's as long as we're going to make it. I wanted the video to be no longer than 30 minutes, so for now, that's what we've got. So if you guys have made it this far, I genuinely appreciate you guys for coming to hang out. If you want to learn more from me and see some live action gameplay, we stream Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we're live on Twitch at ASAP Frosty with 2 T's, same as the YouTube. If you like the video, please like, comment, subscribe, help me get this pushed up in the algorithm so that we can help all the new players get loaded in and into battle as quickly as possible. Greatly appreciate all your guys' support so far, and hope you guys enjoy Arma Reforger as much as I do. As always, stay frosty out there and get it done ASAP, boys. We'll see you on the battlefield. Until next time.